If a real estate agent needs a home inspector and there's one in the group, their logical referral partner is going to be that home inspector or the lender or the insurance person. And they can refer to all of those people. But what it is when somebody I know that has a need for something. For an example, I am going to refinance my house. I have a need for a lender. Usually people say, you got to meet my friend Bill, you got to meet my friend Sally, and they come to the group. They say, this is awesome, and get involved.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Todd Davis. He's the CEO at Star Referral Clubs. Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kelsey. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah,
it's
excited.
An honor to be here.
Oh, excited to have you. I'm excited to talk about Star Referral Clubs. So kind of tell me a little bit about yourself, Todd.
Well, I spent many years in the restaurant industry. Then I went into real estate and realized that real estate was great. But after 25 years, there are some other things I wanted to do. And at the same time, I was kind of closing up my real estate business. We started Star Referral Clubs, which now is a nationwide business networking organization, similar to many that are out there, but very different.
So tell me more.
Well, we do things that are like with shorter meetings. We have a lot more fun. We pass real, honest to goodness referrals. Yeah. And we have a real monthly option as opposed to a contract monthly option, which I've heard is not good for anybody. So if somebody joins us and says, hey, I want to pay a couple of bucks, which we're very affordable to get involved with, but somebody says, I'll try it for a month or two, I actually tell them, don't try it for a month or two, save your money. And they look at me like I've just got something wrong with me. And I say, well, listen, if you're going to try it for a month or two, you're not going to be really engaged with what we teach on how to do referrals and gain that synergy between members so you actually get referrals. And people go, I get it now. I said, give it 6 months. If it doesn't work, you and I can part friends, and we will. But most of the time they go, holy smokes, this is easier, the easiest way I've ever seen to get referrals.
Yeah. And break it down for me. When you say, get referrals, give referrals, what do you mean by that?
Well, for example, if a real estate agent needs a home inspector and there's one in the group, their logical referral partner is going to be that home inspector or the lender or the insurance person. And they can refer to all of those people. But what it is when somebody I know that has a need for something. For an example, I am going to refinance my house. I have a need for a lender. And if I don't know a lender, but my pal does, and they say, oh, but Todd, you should talk to my friend because they're awesome. They do a lot of business with them. And listen, is it okay if I ask him to call you or her to call you? Doesn't matter, gender not specific. But the bottom line is I'll be introduced to somebody who is by a friend of mine who I know and like and trust. They're telling me they've got somebody that they know, like, and trust. And I'm really excited about talking to somebody that they like because I trust them. And the likelihood is I will trust the person I'm referred to because of the respect and trust I have in the person that gave me the name and number. I hope that makes sense because it is literally about the know, like, and trust formula, which we also add in the visibility because we do in-person meetings as opposed to virtual. Virtual is fine. And we did a lot of virtual meetings during the COVID shutdowns and things where we could not meet. But as soon as we got opened up, we all went back to in person, which adds that human touch where you can shake hands with people. I've got a lady in one of my groups that she is a hugger and she won't shake my hand, but she will give me a hug. And we're okay with that. It's all professional. It's just, a little hug. And that's what she does. And if you get to know her, she is just a doll. She's an insurance professional, as I mentioned. But the first time she came to give me a hug, I was sitting down taking notes and she came over at me like this. I was like, oh, and she went, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a hugger. And I went, well, wait a minute, let me stand up then. She said, okay. and we've been hugging ever since. I mean, she's a great, and I'm sure that, my wife wouldn't have an objection to a little businessy hug. So it's all good.
You're not getting in trouble there. So it
No.
sounds like, the business is built around interpersonal relationships and having that know, like, trust. Talk to me a little bit more, about how that's been successful and how you've been able to scale the company.
Well, we do it because people get involved with us, and they could have been in another networking organization prior to bumping into us.
Mhm.
But when they find us, usually by word of mouth, because word of mouth is the way to get referrals, and it's the least expensive marketing anybody can use.
Mhm.
So usually people say, you got to meet my friend Bill, you got to meet my friend Sally, and they come to the group. They say this is awesome and get involved. Not all the time. Some people have, take an excuse that anybody might have in business. I don't have the time. I can't meet on Tuesdays. I've got kids. I can't meet for breakfast. Okay. So find a lunch group that might match what you do. And we're also industry exclusive. So when somebody says, hey, well, I do this, but that breakfast club is closed, we may have a lunch group that has that seat open.
Mhm.
Sometimes not. And then we start thinking about, could we start another club, which we do a lot, around that specific industry? And if it's a normal get business industry, it's usually they know a lot of people too, and we kind of put them all together and make it a functioning group. We're not like a fly by night type thing. We want real quality people.
Yeah.
And if the real quality people are there, the club is going to be incredibly successful.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So do you see, you talked about, if somebody doesn't necessarily have a club that they, have the, like you said, kind of the different barriers to why they may not be able to join a club. Are there trends in industries? I know you said you were, essentially industry agnostic, but do you tend to see, more industries than other kind of joining Gold Star?
Well, I'll say we're industry exclusive, not industry agnostic. So,
Okay.
well, there's if you look at any club, they're typically formed around 4 key players, and that's going to be real estate, lender, insurance person, financial advisor, planner type of person.
Mhm.
Usually those are some of the first core people that can't find a club and want to start one.
Okay.
And I from the real estate background, I know that real estate agents can do very well if they do what we explain to them to do, and it works out fabulously. I was very successful as a real estate agent without a referral group. When I got a referral group, and it took some time, but way before Gold Star,
Mhm.
I was in another group, and it was a really big money maker for me.
Mhm.
But when I opened my own real estate company, I didn't have the time to dedicate to the other group, and I had to back out because I had to focus on my business. And there was some other stuff going on. They were very, very strict, and all of a sudden that wasn't appealing to me anymore. And so when I opened my own real estate company, we started chatting about what should we do to bring in more business quickly. I mean, we had the website and the trickle things, and there's a whole bunch of names for getting a lead, seeing if it works, and trying to process it out.
Mhm.
And we said, hey, let's go ahead and start one. And we started with the idea that my real estate company would have a referral group to be in because we started it.
Mhm.
And doggone thing, and about the 3rd club that we built, we realized that we had built a system to do quality referral groups, and then we realized we could teach other people to do this anywhere in the country.
Mhm. So how many clubs would you say, are across the country?
Well, we're in 9 states. We're right around 60 clubs.
Yeah, wow.
And we got a bunch of people in it, and we're always looking to grow.
Yep.
Because if some of the groups out there are just absolutely waste of time, and I'm not naming names because that's not what I do, but there are groups that meet for lunch, for example. And I went to a group to visit one time, and I was a real estate agent representing real estate, and there were 9 real estate agents and 1 lender. That was it. There was no agenda or organization to it. It was come and have lunch and pass your cards. And honestly, the lunch was okay, but the meeting was nothing that I could do business with.
Yeah.
And I was going to grow the real estate company and, get a buyer or a seller or whatnot. And that didn't happen. And, I went once. That was fun, but I didn't go back.
No, no. So you mentioned, the lunch was fine. The meeting itself wasn't great. What are the important pieces that make a Gold Star Referral Club meeting beneficial for all of the parties? Are there, like you said, the agenda? Are there other things that make it successful?
Well, you mentioned it earlier. It's all about building that know, like, and trust and growing the relationship within the club. Because, who do you want to do business with? Well, personally, I'd rather do business with my friend.
Hmm.
I'd rather do business with somebody I already know.
Hmm.
If I need something fixed around the house, I had a plumber at my house last week. I don't do plumbing. I learned my lesson. I don't do plumbing ever. And I don't fool around with electricity. So I know people that do
Hmm.
that stuff and they're good at it. And
Yeah.
I know that if I need something, or I know if my neighbor says, hey, my air conditioning is on the fritz, I got a guy.
Hmm.
And that's the kind of key that sparks me to
Hmm.
be able to say to somebody, yeah, I got a guy or a
Hmm.
gal, doesn't matter. But if I know somebody that does that, the real estate agent, my commercial building I had that was my office headquarters, we decided that we were going to move out of that into a rental space because I didn't need all the space at the time, still don't. And my agent that I hired has been with us for a long time. I knew her, I liked her, I trusted her. She was good at what she did, and I heard all kinds of success stories coming from her
Hmm.
about clients she helped. Several of the clients she helped were in the club, but that's okay. That aside, but I knew who I wanted to use when I was getting ready to make the move out of that building
Hmm.
into something not only a little bit more affordable, but it also eliminated a lot of upkeep and maintenance that I was trying to do on the building when I had 4 offices and I needed 2. So we made the move and it's been wonderful ever since. But she was the one first thought in my mind when I went to hire somebody. I said, I want you to do it. Let's talk numbers. We did. We're happy. She took good care of me.
Yeah, that's really great. And it's, again, it's that emphasis on those interpersonal relationships. It sounds like, you continue to enforce that in all of aspects of your life, especially with this person as well. So do you think it's those interpersonal relationships and the emphasis on, meeting in person that really differentiates Gold Star from its competition?
Well, there are a lot of groups that still meet in person.
Hmm.
I was visiting with a gentleman out in San Diego, and he said that he was at a meeting this morning back in South Carolina.
Hmm.
And I said, obviously on Zoom, and he said, yeah, we don't do anything but virtually. And there's a big aspect of that. I am all about doing Zooms. I love Zoom, and I was an early adapter of it to communicate. Skype is okay, but Zoom is click a button and you're talking to somebody.
Hmm.
That's my favorite. And so we prefer the human touch. We prefer those hugs. We prefer a handshake. I would rather look into somebody's eyes as a visitor and greet them with a handshake. Again, if they're not into, don't touch me, I need to have a sanitizer. I'm okay with that. And if they do, I carry sanitizer in my pocket, but that's me. And so I want to be able to look in their eyes to get to know them as a person
Yeah.
and as a good business person. And if I can't I may like their business, but if I really like them as a human being, I am going to be more prone to go to them for anything I need that is in their realm.
Hmm.
Most of the people that I've experienced around the country, if they're not good at something they're given a referral to, they'll be the first to say, not my wheelhouse, but I know somebody that could do that for you. It's like, I don't know, pick something like website or IT. Some people that do minor little up top, high level IT, they don't do the nitty gritty, but they know how to put a couple of wires in place.
Hmm.
But I want to know somebody that really does nitty gritty. Because if my guy says, ooh, beyond me, I know other people, but they also can say, you may want to give this guy a call or gal because they're really good at what you need.
Hmm.
And I'll make the phone call.
That's really interesting. And I'm glad that, you talked about enforcing that human touch again. So, talking about the onboarding process, it sounds like, it's no contract. So talk to me a little bit about what that looks like for the onboarding.
Well, they have a choice with Gold Star. When they find a club that they like and they say, this is for me, they put their application in, it costs a couple of bucks. They have the choice of going annually or monthly. And we don't pressure them to do one or the other. I don't care. I want them to get involved because I know they're going to make money. And which is what we do this for. And I want people out in the field to make money doing what we do and being part of what we have to offer. So they put their application in. Their application is reviewed by the person who's in charge of the club. And we have membership, a membership team, typically 2 people, could be 3, depending on the size of the club. But they actually put them through a questionnaire. They want to know all about them. They want to know how long they've been doing their business. They also want to know, what does any significant other or spouse do? Because we don't want to have a conflict coming in. And what I mean by that is, if a real estate agent comes to the group and she meets with the lender and they get along great, but her husband or wife might be a lender, that could be a conflict. And I know this because early on, one of my boys was a lender and he was not in a club. And I explained to the lender who was in the club, who was very, very good. I said, I'll give you as many referrals that I get from the club. I will give you 100% of those because I think you can handle them. I said, but I can't give you everything. And the gal at the time, she was horrified. She said, why not? I said, I got a kid that I got to feed or he comes home. That won't happen. And so he didn't come home, and she did very, very well. So they're interviewed by the club. We asked for 2 business references, and they're called to see if they would be open to doing business with the people again. We also, after the club has gotten all warm and fuzzy with them and we've approved them, that's the point we're charged, because people that apply, we don't take any money from. It's all a vetting process. But then we also do a background check on every member that comes on board. It's a light background check. I mean, there could be something in, Kansas or Canada, for goodness sakes, we don't have access to. It's a light background check just to see who's out there and do they have anything glaring. And I will say that most of the time, and I would say 99.9% of the time, we don't find anything that's of concern to us. However, I have seen a situation that arose with a member who actually got kind of in a little bit of hot water after he was a member. A background check wouldn't have found it, but he got in hot water, and he decided graciously to resign until it was all worked out. But we really care about the members in the group. I had a visitor come to a club one time, and I know I'm bouncing, but I had a visitor who did computer repair come to a club one time. And one of the ladies there needed to have a computer guy come and look at her machine because it was slow and laggy and all that kind of stuff, which they happened to get. But okay. And she asked this guy to come, and she did a county background check, kind of just went on the county for Tulsa County is where we're headquartered. And she found that he was, let me get the words right. He was convicted of a crime against children. And it was a felony, and she didn't understand why he was out, but she immediately canceled the appointment because he was coming to her house that afternoon, and she had 2 young kids. No, we don't do that. So we want to know as much about the person as possible, not to pry, but if something like that were to ever pop up, that would be a reason not to take somebody into a club, obviously.
Yeah. But also too, you're putting your name on somebody else too, as well. So making sure it's quality, and that, you would feel comfortable with them doing business, because it sounds like the club is your family. It's an extension of your family, like really building those relationships.
Absolutely. And if you can't build that relationship for one reason or another, there's got to be a good reason why. And if there is a good reason why, because we also ask the club, say, hey, Sally, Bill have applied to the group. I'd like your feedback, positive or negative. And now anything negative is kept confidential between the person leading the club and the membership team. They talk about it. And I'll give you, for example, we first started Gold Star, and my home inspector was my always home inspector. He was my guy, was a phenomenal businessman. His first inspection was on my personal house. He did such a good inspection. I used him 100% of the time. Now, I mean, obviously, if a buyer had their own inspector, they would be used, and that's fine. But okay. But he was my guy. And one of the ladies came to me after the meeting and said, you should not bring him on board as a member. And I went, why? She said, he's in the middle of a major lawsuit. And I went, I didn't. Well, so she left and said, oh, beware of him. And I was like, So I pulled him to the side and I said, Garrett, what's going on? And he said, yes, I am in the middle of a lawsuit. I said, tell me about it. He said, there was a client of mine that said I didn't catch something on the inspection. And I said, okay, that happens, and you have insurance for that. He goes, absolutely. The problem is, and why it got so far, she won't tell me what she wants to make this be an acceptable deal. He goes, I think it was a dishwasher. He goes, I offered to buy her one. That wasn't enough. He said the floor was not damaged. There was no other damage except this leak. And apparently I missed it. And I said, well, Garrett, okay, I hope it works out for you, but you can come on board and be a member. And he did, and was a phenomenal guy ever since. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. So are there specific sizes? Because you've mentioned kind of a few different sizes of clubs. Does there tend to be a trend in the size of the club?
well, some of them are very small to get started. And we have a program to encourage folks in a brand new group to come on board. It's a little discount on pricing, and that's fine. It makes it a little bit nicer. And so as the founding member, there's a couple of great things. Even though you're joining a smaller startup club, the real benefit to you is, or to anybody, is that they're in the club and can help make decisions on the members. And we don't want to have conflict between like insurance people and financial people, or is it all going to work out? We want them to get to know each other. But one, if they've been closed out of a group before, they get a guaranteed seat because it's open to them. And we protect that guaranteed seat very strictly. We don't want anybody else to come over and visit. Well, visiting is different than coming over. We have a program at Gold Star where it's called cross clubbing, where if there's multiple clubs in an area and your industry, for an example, is not represented in another club, you go as often as you want, and there is no extra cost except for what you eat at the restaurant. And typically we have meetings that meet at a restaurant, but we have to support the restaurant. So they all expect us to eat, and the server expects us to tip well. So, you worked in a restaurant. I was in the restaurant business. Not personally, I worked for people. Boy, that was a shame. Anyway, I learned a lot about people in the restaurant business, but more so in real estate. And now I know, anyway, I know a lot about people now too. But you want to be, boy, I lost my train of thought with that. I'm sorry.
No. You were talking about the importance of, the different size clubs, talking about, and if there's, cross clubbing.
I apologize. It was my restaurant flashback. I apologize.
Trauma.
We think that the sweet spot of a club is about 22 to 25, but that's an effective established club. When you have a brand new club, you can start with 8 or 10 people, because the idea is those 8 or 10 people are going to reach out to their connections and say, Bob, Sally, hey, we're getting involved with over here. You ought to come and check it out. And that is how clubs grow. And I'm always encouraging people that start clubs in the field is that, number one, you go to there used to be something called a Rolodex, which nobody has anymore. But you go to your contacts and say, these 5 people I really like a lot. They're good business people. I know them well. And hey, listen, let me talk to those people, have a cup of coffee, stop by their office, whatnot, and say, hey, listen, so I'm going to do this thing. Is that something you're interested in? And most often you'll hear, well, yeah, I want to know more about it. Super. Why don't you think about who you would like to do more business with and invite them to come check it out? Because now you've got somebody who knows Gold Star, who's going to be standing up and talking about what Gold Star is, what it does, and how it can benefit those folks as a business person. And they may want to get involved. And when they do, they're going to go, yay, let's get more people. There's a formula that we have where visitors mean more members, members mean more referrals, and more referrals mean more money in the bank. And that's how it works. And if people get off that track and they say, I won't invite any of my friends, they don't want to come. You didn't ask them. If they need business, you should really jump at the chance to invite them to visit your club. You're not asking a commitment. Just come and have a meal with some friends who are your business friends.
Yeah. So you mentioned having meals, kind of grabbing coffee. Do you see that there are certain environments that tend to work better for meetings, different layouts or things like that? Talk to me a little bit about that.
You bet. And we want every group to be we like them to be in a restaurant, but it's not mandatory. They could meet in somebody's large conference room. In my building, I had a large conference room, and occasionally we had a meeting hold over there because the restaurant was closed or being renovated, or they just didn't have a group yet. Excuse me, they had a group, they just didn't have a place to go. And sometimes that's the issue. We like them to have a private room where there's a door that can close. And we literally teach the server how to do the delivery of food for people's lunch, because the worst thing you want to do is have them walk in and start auctioning off, who got the bacon cheeseburger, because that's what it sounds like. It's very disruptive. So we say, hey, listen, if you got a number of the seats or you want us to write out our order, we can do that. And they always go, no. And most of the time, our restaurants have a server that is consistent to the group. They know who gets coffee. They know who gets a pop. They know who gets, and you just tell her, one server, her name is Sydney. She says, you have the usual. And I always get a salad for lunch and a pop. And it's like, okay. And that's what I have. And it's, I guess I get out for about $15 and works for me. And I tip well. So I know that she's being taken care of, but I've also told her, if you find people that are not tipping you the way they normally should be tipping you, you have to let me know. And she has promised to do that. And we've been there for years. And we have multiple groups that meet at that restaurant, but they're at different times and different days. And there's one meeting that we have there that she is working catering and can't be at the meeting. I mean, they have breakfast and lunch. It's a breakfast and lunch place, and they close around 2-ish. And but she's there for our meetings, and so she handles 5 of our meetings. Sorry, we just added one, and so it's great. And we think she's I think the world of her, because she knows exactly what to do and delivers the food, puts the check down, easy peasy, no conversation. I mean, but she's a great lady. So
that's great. That's great. So, talking about, again, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. You clearly are, brilliant with interpersonal relationships, that human connection, which is, why you're so passionate about what you do now. So do you often hear any misconceptions about business networking or anything like that people are surprised about?
Yes. And I will tell you, I had an air conditioning man was invited by a plumber to come to a group. And he was such a stubborn son of a gun. He said, these things don't work. I'll never get involved. This is just a waste of time. I'll have breakfast with you and I'm leaving. And the plumber said, my air conditioning man is named Jerry. He said, Jerry, literally shut up and join. And Jerry reluctantly joined, very reluctantly. And as he joined, it was the end of the year, but his last quarter of the year that he joined, he made $800 just from Gold Star. And that was enough to cover all of his fees for the year.
Wow.
More than enough. And then the second year, full year he was in it, because he stuck around a little bit, he made $60,000 from Gold Star. And his third year, he was over $100,000. So now he's brought on more people to help. He looks for the young people that can move up in learning. He's a big teacher. This is his second career. He was laid off from a company, and he just had 20 years experience in the HVAC field. I met him in 2011. He was just awarded Bixby as a big chamber local to where we are, and he just was awarded Person of the Year for them. Wow. And he's awesome, and he's less expensive than some of the big names out there, because he looks at, what do you need? How can I help? At my building, he nursed an AC unit for me for many months. He said, I'm trying to keep it going through the season. And we didn't quite make it, but he really tried. And, it was, well, we tried this and it's going to work for a while. I'm not sure. But he was honest with me. He didn't say, need to buy a $16,000 system. He did not ever say that. He really looks out for the client he's in front of, the consumer that he's quote unquote selling to, and getting them the best service that he can do. And I know that one Saturday evening, I called him and said, Jerry, I got my ACs out. And he said, oh, well, you're fairly close. I'll be right over. I went, Jerry, it's Saturday night. He goes, yeah, but I can get to you in a few minutes. And he lives probably 10 or 15 minutes up the road from me. And he showed up, he did it, said, see ya. He said, I'll send you an invoice. I said, great.
Perfect.
That to me is service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Coming from the
So,
restaurants too, the importance of quality service and accessibility. So that was really polite of him, and great. Sounds like a really good guy that you want to recommend business to.
yeah, I don't think we have, well, there are a couple of other AC companies in Gold Star, in local Tulsa and around. I don't know anybody that would actually use somebody else, because Jerry is always so nice.
Yeah.
And, he's just such a nice guy. His crew is nice. They're respectful. They're clean uniforms. I like that kind of stuff. And if they've been up in the attic in somebody's house, they'll literally clean themselves up before they get to me. And it's awesome. So you were saying people have misconceptions. The misconception is I won't make any money. And the small investment we charge is like, okay, you're going to do a Facebook ad. It's going to cost you more than we charge. You're going to do something else. You're going to do a mass mailer. Oh God, please. Postcards. Oh my God. Well, you can do all that stuff. What is your return on it? Years ago, when I was a real estate agent, this is long ago, probably Kelsey before you were born, but I don't know your age, not going to ask, but I do know that when I sent out a flyer, kind of in a, like a value pack kind of a deal. And they said, I spent a whole bunch of money on that and I got half a lead out of it. And they said, well, you got to do it again. I said, no, it was enough money spent to realize that's not my market. But I had a friend, and this is way before networking. And my friend said, oh, you got to do it. I said, all right. And yeah, it didn't work out, but I got this one half a lead. I went to his house. He ended up selling the property to his sister, and they had an attorney. It was all lined up. He just wanted to know how much it was worth. And I didn't know that going in, because I did question him a little bit, but there's some things that do a great return on a small investment. And I believe that business networking organizations do that for the business person out there that doesn't have a huge budget. I mean, for goodness sakes, if you don't have a lot, a little bit of money to some is a little bit of money, but to others, a little bit of money is a lot of money. We don't charge a whole bunch. To get involved with us, should I talk price? Sure, I will. Today, our annual membership is $469. Our monthly membership is $50. There's a one-time registration fee of $179. That's one time, period, not per year. And add that on. It's just the setup of the training, which we do a lot of, and we should mention that in a minute. But it's to get them set up, get them a business card book, very similar to this one. I happen to have one on my desk where you put business cards in for your club, and when you refer somebody out, you can actually hand the person that has a need a business card, and you put 3 of each in there, and you can hand one out. And the next time you hand one out, you go, oh, I only have one left. I need to get more. And we do that at the club. So
that's fantastic. So you mentioned training. Talk to me more about training.
Well, the training program is we do a series of videos for all new members. A series of videos. They're easy to watch. They're very short. Most of them are very, very short, 6-8 minutes long, maybe. I think that how to do a profile effectively, a little bit longer, maybe 15 minutes. But if you look at them, you're going to glean a lot of information about how the operation of Gold Star is and how you can put it on yourself to do all the lovely things that we talk about. And how do you do a 60-second presentation or elevator pitch, which I don't use. We do 60-second presentations. So how do you do that? Okay, well, we have a video that we send. There's a whole lot of training videos that they can watch. And we do a member training twice a month where members, new or old, can go on and not sit down, it's virtual. We used to do them live, and then we stopped doing them live because of COVID. And then it was like, everybody's happy with virtual for that. And that's about an hour and a half, 2-hour commitment out of somebody's life. But you get everything soup to nuts. How do you do what you need to do? And if they look at our little videos and they attend that the member training, they're going to be right on top of their game, because a lot of it is done with the idea that you want to make money, you want to get referrals. We're going to show you how to do that. And if you pay attention, you will be able to apply this to your club and to the other clubs in your area and be able to make some money. So.
Yeah, no, and it sounds like you've been able to build this system. Like you said, you started one, started two, started three, and said, wow, we really have a system here. And you've been able to continue to build this networking, as almost, like a leadership, club too, to be able to help, these business professionals grow their own leadership skills as well.
Well, we do have leadership within the club. The person who starts a club, we call a director. And in that, depending on the region, they may be out there all by their little lonesome, but I have something that's called a telephone, and I answer it. Well, okay, I use my office phone. I also have a cell phone. But somebody in the field has access to me like right now. But the benefit is when you put leaders of the members into functioning parts of the club, they tend to take a little bit more ownership of it. They want to invite their friends more frequently, or they want to make sure that the club, I have a club that says, hey, we need to have, then they listed about 6 categories they'd like to have filled. Now, the club is 15. You asked about numbers. 15 is an okay club. 20 makes it all of a sudden a exponential explosion of referrals, because now you get 5 other people that you can refer to, and 2 can bring you referrals. We also try not to sell in our clubs to the members. We don't do what we want to do is tell them what a good referral is for me, and they're going to tell me what a good referral is for them. They'll hopefully tell us a little success story. And, hey, if you've got somebody that that's having this situation, like a air conditioning, or can't sell their house, then there could be an opening for you to say, I've got people that do that. Let me ask them to give you a quick call. Is that okay? And Mr. Smith will say, yes, it's okay. Send them over to me, because there was a study done now years ago, but the study was done by Word of Mouth org, I think. They said 92% of the people said they preferred to be referred to somebody when they had a need, and 78% of those people actually used the person they were referred to, which that's 3 to 1. No, excuse me, 3 out of 4 chance you're going to close some business out of that.
Right. I'll take those odds.
That's what I'm thinking. And when I was a real estate guy, and people knew me, they got to know and like and trust me, and bless their hearts, I would walk into an appointment to meet a buyer or seller, and I was 80% pre-sold before I ever got there. And the benefit to me was they were ready to do business. I'd ask a seller, I said, so who else are you talking to? And they go, well, nobody. I was told you were the best. I said, you're right. Here's a pen, sign here. And I make it light. Of course, I talked to them and I got to know them. And anyway, the numbers worked. The only thing I really needed to do, because I had a system in real estate for everything, I knew what I was going to say almost before I met them. And then I had to adapt to what they needed. And I'd really listen to their needs. They didn't want to be shoved out the door. What they wanted to do is hear a little bit about, I wanted to hear a little bit about them. Why are they thinking about selling? What are they going to do when they do sell? Is there anything I can help you with other than that? Oh, you need some people that come in and paint your house. I got that. And it was a really good business for real estate agents. So we have a lot of real estate agents that have actually run clubs. So I'm pleased about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So if people wanted to learn more about Gold Star, where would they go to learn more?
Well, the website is the easiest. They could go to Gold Star Clubs with an S at the end, goldstarclubs.com, and that will redirect them to goldstarreferralclubs.com. And right before we went on, and I told you, Gold Star Referral Clubs is incredibly hard to spell. goldstarclubs.com takes you where you need to go. It's easy to type in. It's 3 separate words, easypeasy.com, and you're at Gold Star Clubs now. And you can also look a little bit about us, what we do, how we get it done. There's a couple of videos on there. And if you need some more information, my phone number is on there. And I could give it now. It's 918-933-4866. Again, we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is Central Time Zone. And I get so many people call and go on a message. And they go, I called, I need some help. It's like, well, okay, call me. I'm in the office. Reach me office time, or cell number. And all of my directors, for example, have my cell phone. All of the members in my personal, I run 4 clubs. This is all I do for a living. And I run 4 clubs myself here in town. Everybody in there has my cell phone. So if they need something, text works. I don't like group text, but some people are starting to use a group me as a way to communicate. And that's kind of neat. A lot of my clubs said, I don't want any more texts. Don't do that. It's like, okay, we won't do it right.
Yeah, I hear that.
California, for example, they started this and brought it to us, and they're doing it for all of their clubs. And it's a great thing to have if you don't mind it. So.
Yeah. Well, Todd, as we start to wrap up this conversation, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, either about the Gold Star Clubs, about business networking, anything like that?
Well, I would tell you, if you don't have a club near you and you are interested in learning more, make that phone call to me. We can have a general conversation. I don't push. If it's for you, great. If it's not, great. You might know somebody that is good with networking and may be interested to have a conversation about starting their own club. It is a compensated position, which means you would literally get paid to promote your business. I got to say, it's really good for somebody that has a job. Can you go full-time in Gold Star? Yeah, but I wouldn't do it right off the bat, because one club is going to, give you gas money and lunches, but there's a way to make a whole bunch of money, and there's a way to just kind of be okay with what you're doing. And I could work with anybody that wants to do anything. So really, if you have a question about business networking, I'm open to a phone call. Again, it's 918-933-4866. And that is to my personal line. We have multiple lines in here, but if you call that number, and if I'm in the office and not on a meeting somewhere, I will answer your call and talk to you. So please feel free.
That's fantastic. And I think that, broken record, saying it again, the importance that you place on, the human connection, interpersonal relationships, it says something that you're able to give out your cell phone to say, hey, call me, let's have a conversation. I want to get to know you better, kind of get to know your needs and what you're looking for, and see if it's a good fit.
Well, we have a lot of things about how do you get to know and like and trust somebody else? And we do something that's called a one-to-one, and you set it up outside of the regular meeting. It could be before, it could be after, it could be at your office. If you had an office, I'd say go take them to your office to do the one-to-one so they can see where you work, kind of get to know you. If I had a repairman, I needed him to fix a hole in the wall, he'd have to come to my house. Well, if you want to get to know me, come to my office and we'll walk through it. And it's like real estate agent. No, I'll give you a negative story. I had a car salesman. Car salesman was with us for about 6 months, and he wasn't doing very well. And he decided he was going to resign. And I called him and said, so what's going on? And he goes, well, I'm not getting any business. I said, well, let me ask you something. You've done a very few of those one-to-ones. How many of those people did you take to your dealership and put their butt in a car? And he went, well, they know what I do. I said, well, there was a little miss on his part. I don't care what you do. I don't care. I want to know about you as a person. I want to know how you're going to treat my clients. I want to know that you'll be listening to them when they say they've got X to spend, that you're not pushing them to X. That doesn't work for me. I had a referral. I was looking at, I had an attorney. I still have him. He is a wonderful guy, and he keeps showing up at meetings in these fancy Porsches and stuff. And I said, where do you get your cars? My wife was complaining about the muscle car that I had at the time, and I won't mention names, but it was a Chevy Camaro convertible SS. It was a great car. I loved it. Her, not so much. So my attorney friend said, hey, listen, go see my friend John. He works at that dealership, but he sells for all three of those dealerships. And I walked in, and he did the best job of not selling me anything. Kicking tires is what I did. And on the Saturday after I met him, I bought a car. But it was only because he didn't sell me. And my friend Lynn told me, he said, no, John's a great guy. You'll love him. And I did. And anyway, great guy. And first thing he did was, I said, well, let's go look at that one. He goes, let's go take it for a drive. I went, I'm in. So that was the car I left with. So there you go.
That's great. That's great. Well, Todd, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you breaking down business networking, talking about all the great things that, Gold Star can add value to your professional life, and also to the importance of, interpersonal relationships and that human connection that Gold Star is really able to pull everyone in a way that they may not necessarily have had those connections to begin with.
We have some really nice people too in all of our clubs.
Yeah.
We look for nice people.
Very important. Very important. Well, Todd, I really appreciate you being on Business Ninjas today. Thank you for your time.
Kelsey, I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you very much.
Absolutely.